We are proud to be part of the sport update and history in your sporting life. In this show, we update the sport lovers on the progress of the sport in South Sudan, such as football, basketball, tennis, boxing, volleyballs, wrestling, and many more. Don't miss to follow us and join our group of sport analysts and experts as we bring them to you in this show through interviews and talk shows. Hello and welcome to the sport programs on SABC, coming to you live from the national capital, Juba. My name is Majur Cholko. This week on our editions of the sport programs on SABC, we take a look at the local sport analysis. And to join me right here in the studio is none other than Kon Peter, a sport analyst and a radio presenter working for Classic FM here in Juba, and also Kelly Abale, a sport analyst and a presenter working for iRadio. And right here we'll be discussing about the local sport in the country, what is going on in the sport arena, what is good and what is not good in the sport in the country, what need to be improved in the sport sector in the Republic of South Sudan. Dear viewers, let's have a break and we'll be right back shortly. Thanks for joining us. We are proud to be part of the sport update and history in your sporting life. In this show, we update the sport lovers on the progress of the sport in South Sudan, such as football, basketball, tennis, boxing, volleyballs, wrestling, and many more. Don't miss to follow us and join our group of sport analysts and experts as we bring them to you in this show through interviews and talk shows. Welcome back, dear viewers. You're still following the sport programs coming to you live on SABC from the national capital, Juba. To my guests in the studio, Kon Peter and Kelly Abale, you're most welcome. Allow me to say it, I'm profoundly honored and exceedingly humble to have an opportunity to host you in the sport programs on SABC. You're most welcome.
Well, thank you so much. It is a pleasure being on SABC for the first time. And when it comes to talking about sports, that is what we basically
talk about.
We live for. So
okay.
It is always a pleasure when I'm invited to talk about sports, because that is what I love doing most.
Thank you. Peter, as we start the show, any greetings in the sport language to the sport lovers in the country before we analyze the sport in the country?
Yeah, greetings to all the viewers of South Sudan Broadcasting Corporation, and greetings to you gentlemen in the building with me. I'm honored as well to be with you guys, and the history is making itself here. He was the man who gave me the debut on a radio station. The first time I appeared on a talk show in the radio, it was Kelly Abale. So still here you are as well. You are giving me my first appearance to talk about sports on South Sudan Broadcasting Corporation.
Thank you so much. Thank you for giving me the credit, but the credit goes to SABC and the sport program. Kelly Abale and Kon Peter, all of you are welcome to the table of the sport. Let's start with the sport in the country. Especially, we're going to talk about football, basketball, volleyball, wrestling, and other sporting related activities in the country, how they are being perceived and who are involved in these sport activities. But we start with football, and this question goes to all of you. What is your understanding and how is football being perceived in South Sudan? Kelly?
Well, thank you for that question. Football is a game that everyone loves, and it is a game of passion. It's a game of integrity. The way it is perceived in the country is definitely the way others perceive it in other countries. And when you have the right kind of football administrators who do the right thing at the right time, then definitely people will love what you give them. The challenge I think that we have with our football is we tend not to give the last consumer, who is the fan, the quality of football that they deserve. And that's why most of them resort to getting out and supporting foreign kind of football. So we need to go back to the drawing board as football stakeholders, including me and you, because media also plays a role in developing football in the country. When we have a media department or media houses that do not value and take sports as something important to the community, then it becomes hard because people will not know what is happening. So I think for us to evolve our football to the highest level, all involved stakeholders need to get back to the drawing board and get to understand how we can do it the better way. That is what I think needs to happen.
Thank you, Kelly. Kon, how is football being perceived in South Sudan?
Yeah, to pick up from where Kelly has left and from where he began from, football is a game that is loved by the majority. If you ask an average person, you in a family will tell you that he's a football lover. And by default, every man who is born in town loves football. Even in villages, they love football by default. And they love playing it. Likewise, everybody wants to watch football development. But we don't know how somebody can succeed in football. The grassroots level, we don't know how success can come from football. We think by loving it, it is already an automatic indication that we shall succeed in it. But generally, we as South Sudanese and we as lovers of football, football requires a lot. It is a game that needs time for somebody to mature in football. And it starts from ground, from being a child. You do all the procedures you go through. If it means going through the academies, if it means putting all the conditions, the financial positions and all the requirements that you can talk of in football, that's football for you. But as South Sudanese, we are not having those conditions for a number of reasons, especially the financial aspects, and also not taking it seriously. Yes, we love it, but what development are we doing? What investment are we doing to achieve football, or for us to have a good game of football in the country? That's what I can say.
Thank you. Kelly and Peter, if I'm to come to you personally, at the personal level, before you become a journalist, before you become a radio presenter, presenting a sport, games or activities, were you involved in playing games like football?
It doesn't necessarily need someone to play football to become a sports journalist. What I think is important is the passion that you have for sports. First of all, sports is not only football. Most of our people think sports is only football. We also have other sports activities. We have rugby, we have volleyball, we have athletics, we have judo, we have cricket, we have basketball, which of course I believe is coming up in the next few minutes, where our team is going to play. We have swimming, which is a sport. People take it here like it is something for fun, but it is a sport which can earn you a living in the world of today. So some of us might have not played active football, but we studied how to do the sports journalism.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you been playing football?
Yeah, I'm going to be contrary to Kelly.
Okay.
From, like I was telling you earlier on, every man, when you come up, when you are born, or from the time you mature, you start seeing things, you fall in love with the football. That was the first sports I fell in love with. Even before I knew a lot in life, I fell in love with the football, and I played it at amateur level. That's what I can say, not competitive. I was in a boarding school, and because of studies and all that, I didn't go far with the football because of our environment. You cannot pursue football and you think you will make it in life automatically. So you have to give education priority, and that's how I didn't go through football. And for me to become a sports analyst or a sports presenter, personally, I didn't study sports journalism like Kelly did. Just because I had the passion, like you were saying earlier on, I had the passion for sports, for football basically. It was very easy for me to start beginning talking football. In the country, I've been watching games, if it is at a secondary school level, if it is, even if they are not school ongoing children, if it is not competitive, I've been watching games. And it has been very easy for me to fall into the sports fraternity and to be in the media because of the passion I had at the beginning for football, and this is why I'm with you here.
Thank you. And thank you, dear viewers of SABC, for joining us. You're following the sport programs on SABC, coming to you live from the national capital, Juba. My name is Majur Cholkur, and this edition, I'm joined by Kelly Abale, a sport analyst and a sport presenter working for iRadio here in Juba, and Kon Peter, a sport analyst and a sport presenter working for Classic FM here in Juba. Gentlemen, coming back to you, we are still talking about football, but before we come and talk more about football as a sport activity, today South Sudan is going to play in Cameroon. That is basketball. What is your predictions? And don't forget, SABC is going to feature it live at exactly 6 p.m.
Well, I think I'm one of the fans who is disappointed with what happened yesterday, because I watched from the beginning up to the end. The boys did what they could do, though it wasn't their day. We saw what they did in Kenya in January. It was exceptional, extraordinary. Yesterday was a different nation altogether that were playing. They were better than us. And they managed to get the 91 points, and we got the 83 points. But today, we're going to play Chad. And if we go back to the drawing board, like I always say, when you make mistakes today, tomorrow should not be the same kind of mistakes. Yesterday, there were some small mistakes. The boys were not quick at taking their rebounds. They committed a lot of fouls. You know, when you in basketball, the more you give your opponent 3 points and they take advantage and put the ball in the basket, definitely they will be ahead of you. So the technical team, if they have learned from that mistake and work on those small mistakes which occurred in the game of yesterday, I think they can make something better today. And I believe if basketball is funded not as an individual but stakeholders in the country come up together, team up together to fund basketball, I think this is the sport that the whole world will be knowing us for, because we have the talent. We have extraordinarily good players across the globe who can play this sport. So it is very, very important that what the boys have shown to the people out there needs to continue. And the only way it's going to continue is when there is going to be support. Not only making the noise when they're playing, but the financial, psychological support needs to come from every stakeholders. Okay. Be it the funds, be it the government, be it the business sector, they need to come in now.
I know. We as a journalist, we talk a lot. Kelly, thank you so much. Let's go to Peter.
Yeah, I think I have to be appreciative, first of all, to the South Sudan Basketball Federation, rather, for the great work they had done. They had almost a successful spell while they were in Kenya. And it was because they had a good foundation. They were the second best team in that tournament, in the qualifiers in Kenya. So they were awarded the wild card for the second best, who did not make it. This is why they were invited to Cameroon to face two other teams who are also the second best from whichever regions they were competing in. Chad and Cape Verde Island were those countries. So when they went to Cameroon, I had a belief, because of what the team had put up, the federation, South Sudan Basketball Federation Board, because of the training, they had prepared enough. Even they traveled in advance to Cameroon, which rarely happens with our team due to logistical problems. They don't make it usually in advance. So I had a belief in them, but they were going to compete among the best. Those two teams, in the end, they first played off before South Sudan would play. And when they played, it was Cape Verde that beat Chad, which made it now very difficult for Cape Verde. If Cape Verde were to lose to South Sudan, it would mean that their qualification will also be at a risk. So they really needed that game more than we needed as well. We needed to win the game so that we give ourselves a good chance against Cape Verde Island, so which is the game that is going to come up. I think because of the way they played yesterday, they made mistakes. They had begun better than Cape Verde, but they made mistakes throughout. They ended up making mistakes. If they rectify those mistakes, I think they have a good chance. If the motivation will be there, let them at least win this game. It counts for nothing, but let them win it so that they will come back home with a win. This is what I expect from them.
Let's have a break and we'll be right back.
We are proud to be part of the sport update and history in your sporting life. In this show, we update the sport lovers on the progress of the sport in South Sudan, such as football, basketball, tennis, boxing, volleyballs, wrestlings, and many more. Don't miss to follow us and join our group of sport analysts and experts as we bring them to you in this show through interviews and talk shows.
Welcome back, dear viewers. You're still following the sport programs, and let me come back to my guest in the studio. You give your positions or your own analysis on the upcoming games, which is going to be today at 6 p.m. SLBC will feature the games live right here. And coming back to football, let's look at football has a federation or association, which is South Sudan Football Association. Do you think they are doing something good to improve football in the country? Kelly?
4 years almost coming to an end since the new board, the current board of directors were given the mandate by the General Assembly. That was in 2017. If you look onto from 2012 up to now, the job that has been done, yes, someone can say they have done well. Despite challenges being there, they have done incredibly well. I remember in 2016, when our team would go and participate in an international match, for example, there would be a fundraising. People would have to contribute for this team to travel out. Since this body took over, for the first time in the history of football in this country, we had our team go out of this country and camp outside for almost 2 months, if I'm not wrong. 2 months. For the first time, we managed to beat one of the strongest teams in East Africa, that is Uganda, under 23. We managed to go away and get a draw. Players are willing to come in and be part of the national team because of the conducive environment that has been created by perhaps the board or the leaders. So if I am to speak what is in my head, I would say out of 100%, they have done 40% well. Still a lot of work has to be done. Yeah, we see now we have Bullock Training Center, which is an artificial turf. That credit definitely will go to the federation. The Juba Stadium is almost complete. Of course, with a part of it, a section of the stadium collapsing a few weeks back, which brought a lot of anxiety amongst football fans and stakeholders, but we thank God it is back to normal, and people are, the construction I think has already resumed. So for me, I give credit where due. I will not sit here and say they have done nothing when I've seen the good that they have done.
Okay.
Despite that, there are still a lot of challenges that need to be corrected and worked on to see that we reach the level that we all wish to be in.
Thank you, Kelly. Peter, what are the things that you need are lacking in the side of football here in the country?
Yeah, let me begin by saying football in South Sudan is one of the blessed sports. One reason why they are blessed is for the fact that FIFA avails South Sudan Football Association money. Sometimes it reaches up to $1 million. If you compare it with even some government institutions, they don't get that money. If you compare
maybe to just chip in, it is not a blessing. That one is not a blessing.
What is it?
It is a mandate that FIFA has to do. Because this money that he's talking about, the $1 million US, which comes every year, comes to all football federations. It is a must.
What I'm saying, Kelly, what I'm saying is...
Maybe he's talking about...
Okay, let me finish.
Blessing in a way that it is the only institution that gets funding every year.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. If you compare it with other sports, like the basketball team, which is in Cameroon, it is individuals who are responsible for all that. They don't get any money from any international federation, likewise from the government. So football, it gets money from FIFA and also from CAF. For that reason, it has made work a little bit easier for them. Then even the payment for the coach, the salary, and his technical team, it is not the government doing it, it is a company which is doing that. I will not go there. So this is why we have registered some good success, like the Buluk Training Center is talking about. Juba Stadium, it is under FIFA, and likewise. So the conditions have been there, but still we have to give credit.
What are the things that are still remaining as a challenge now that need to be improved on?
What we need to improve on are for basics. We lack basics. Football has to start from the grassroots. You have to invest in the kids. Put them the academies. If the academies can be set up, let them graduate. If you start from under 10, let there be under 15, under 17, under 18, under 20. And the moment a child passes through that, it will be very easy for that child to perform when he graduates to a senior team. That is lacking with South Sudan Football Association. They only get players who are developed differently, by default, whether they developed themselves or whether they were developed by their clubs. But as South Sudan, those conditions are not there, which is what SSFA has to do. Also, when you look at the administration, we are in the sports industry, Kelly does, and you are in. Sometimes information becomes very difficult. The people who are supposed to give us the information so that we feed to the public, sometimes they have challenges, but they don't want to open to us that they have challenges. For example, if they come on the TV here and they say they have a problem, it will be very easy for a minister somewhere to help. Likewise, a business person or a company and a corporate company can easily help when the problem has been brought forward. But when they are in their own places, without bringing these problems, it becomes very difficult for these problems to be addressed. So administrative problems are still there. South Sudan is still a young nation for this case, and we don't have legends who played as footballers, who have managed the sports for them to start
We are proud to be part of the sport update and history in your sporting life. In this show, we update the sport lovers on the progress of the sport in South Sudan, such as football, basketball, tennis, boxing, volleyballs, wrestlings, and many more. Don't miss to follow us and join our group of sport analysts and experts as we bring them to you in this show through interviews and talk shows.
Welcome back, dear viewers. You are still following the sport programs on SSBC, and we were talking about the challenges facing football in the country and what should be done to improve football in the country. Kelly, what do you think? You mentioned a lot of things, but what do you think should be done really?
Well, Kwon was talking about what really needs to be done so that we can have better football in the country. There are three things that need to be embarked on. First of all, you cannot have proper grassroots when you don't have proper infrastructure. The first most important thing is the federation needs to work with stakeholders to ensure that there is good and proper infrastructure where our young boys and girls would feel comfortable playing good football. Two, investment in football is very important. Football has become a business, and you cannot have proper football when you don't have proper investment strategies on how you're going to attract investors to come and invest in football. What are those things that you're going to do to attract people to come and invest in football? So I think this is one of the things that the federation needs to work on so seriously. Lastly, is administration. When you have an administration that is qualified with the right people and right mindset in the right places, then work is going to be very easy. So I think the first most important thing is the federation needs to evaluate its own administration. Am I having the right people in the right places with the right mindset to do the right thing? If not, we shall keep talking, making the noise on the TVs, making the noise on the radio, making the noise on the streets. Nothing is going to change.
Yeah, maybe to pick up from there, he has brought up good points. Infrastructure, we need infrastructure. And you need money to have the infrastructure, which brings us back to the whole country, the whole problem that the country as a whole has. So South Sudan needs to, South Sudan Football Association needs to involve other stakeholders, the government, the private institutions, for them to invest into sports as a whole in the country. So these are the things that we really need to take good care of. Otherwise, I talked of the FIFA money. What if that FIFA money wasn't coming in annually? Where would the South Sudan Football Association be? It would be very difficult. So the government as well has stakes to put into sports, not only in football, but generally. It has to invest, which is understandable why at times things are not coming in from the side of the government due to the general problems we have economical. And
maybe perhaps the last one that they need to do when it comes to infrastructure. We should not only look at Juba as the place we are going to have good infrastructure. Every part of the country needs to have good stadiums, even if it is not a modern stadium that people need, but they need to have standard playgrounds that will make the boys and the girls feel comfortable playing football. So it should be the mandate and role of the National Federation to ensure that each and if we have 10 states, and according to the football statutes, we have 16 local football associations. Definitely, you're not going to have the modern playgrounds in all the 16 local football associations. The federation can choose specific states where they can have something similar to the Bullock playground. So infrastructure should only not be restricted to Juba, but it should be spread to the whole country.
Thank you, gentlemen, for making it to the studio of SABC. Before I let you go, maybe I can start with you, your last message. Given the all sport activities in the country, we have been exhausting about football, but you can give your last message.
Yeah, I have to appreciate SSBC for hosting me and also my colleague Kelly. And what I would be telling the government at this stage, let's invest in youth. Let's invest in sports. If money is there, let's invest in us. Imagine yesterday the national team, basketball team, lost by 95 to 85. What if the government had invested? We lost by 6 points. What if the government was taking a part there? The team did whatever they could. Individuals are the ones who did that.
I think the government is maybe taking part, but small.
Yeah, anyway, it is taking part, including broadcasting the game. We are going to watch it on SSBC. But still, we need to put more hands and develop sports in the country.
Thank you. Kelly, 30 seconds.
Well, all I can say is don't appreciate what does not belong to you. Appreciate what belongs to you. What am I saying? Let's appreciate our sports. Regardless of which sport, let us appreciate our own and stop this supporting of foreign clubs, foreign individuals. Let's love our own boys and girls.
Thank you, Kelly. And thank you so much, dear viewers, for following these sport programs on SABC. This week, we have been analyzing the local sport in the country. And coming up shortly is South Sudan taking on Chad in Cameroon. Will be live right here on SABC. Thank you for joining us. And gentlemen, I'm profoundly honored and exceedingly humble having you in the show. Good luck with me and the technical team. We say do have a blessed time. And don't miss to watch and follow the live programs all the way from Cameroon right here on SABC.
We are proud to be part of the sport update and history in your sporting life. In this show, we update the sport lovers on the progress of the sport in South Sudan, such as football, basketball, tennis, boxing, volleyballs, wrestlings, and many more. Don't miss to follow us and join our group of sport analysts and experts as we bring them to you in this show through interviews and talk shows.